Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Today's reciters are Vanita Mataji in Sanskrit and Jai Mataji in English from Canto 3, Chapter 22, verses 24 to 39. Vanita Mataji, when you're ready, please start with the invocation. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Vanita Mataji, you're muted. Can you please unmute yourself, please?
Is it from 22 or 24?
No, 24 to 39.
Okay, thank you.
Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Text 24. Pratham Duritam Samrat Sandrakshaya Gata Vrattaha Upagohya Chabahubhyam Kantyo Maditasyaha.
Thus relieved of his responsibility by handing over his daughter to a suitable man, Swayambhuva Manu, his mind agitated by feelings of separation, embraced his affectionate daughter with both his arms.
Asakno Vamstaviraham Munchandaspa Kalam Moho Asinchad Ambavatseti Netro Duhitu Sikhaha.
The emperor was unable to bear the separation of his daughter. Therefore tears poured from his eyes again and again, drenching his daughter's head as he cried, "My dear mother, my dear daughter."
Amatrayatam Nivaram Anuj Natha Sahunigaha Ratashte Ratham Aruhya Sabahya Swapuram Narpaha Ubayo Rishi Kulyaha Saraswatya Surodaraha Rishinam Upasantanam Ashyan Ashrama Sampadaha.
After asking and obtaining the great sage's permission to leave, the monarch mounted his chariot with his wife and started for his capital, followed by his retinue. Along the way, he saw the prosperity of the tranquil seers, beautiful hermitages on both the charming banks of the Saraswati, the river so agreeable to saintly persons.
Yatnam Abhipetya Brahmavarat Prajapatim Gita Samshruti Vaditraha Pratyutya Praharasitaha.
Overjoyed to know of his arrival, his subjects came forth from Brahmavarta to greet their returning lord with songs, prayers, and musical instruments.
Bahismati Namapurta Sarva Sampat Samanvita Nya Patan Yatra Romani Yagnashyanangama Vidumvata Kusha Kasas Taevasam Kasaddaritra Varjasaha Rasayo Yahi Parabhavya Yajnajnanam yajnam uchire.
The city of Barhismati, rich in all kinds of wealth, was so called because Lord Vishnu's hair dropped there from his body when he manifested himself as Lord Boar. As he shook his body, this very hair fell and turned into blades of evergreen kusha grass and kasha, another kind of grass used for mats, by means of which the sages worshipped Lord Vishnu after defeating the demons who had interfered with the performance of their sacrifices.
Kushakasamyan bahir astirya bhagavan manoho ayayat achayat yagna purusham laptastanam yato bhuvam.
Manu spread a seat of kushas and kashas and worshipped the Lord, the personality of Godhead, by whose grace he had obtained the rule of the terrestrial globe.
Barhismatim namavipo yam nirvishya samavasata tashyam bhavishtu bhavanam tapatraya vinashanam.
Having entered the city of Barhismati, in which he had previously lived, Manu entered his palace, which was filled with an atmosphere that eradicated the three miseries of material existence.
Sabhadraya sampratar kaman bubujenya virohataha samriyamana satkirtaha astribhi suragayakehe Pratyay usseshva anubandhanena ardhasruvan harikantaha.
Empress Swayambhu Manu enjoyed life with his wife and subjects and fulfilled his desires without being disturbed by unwanted principles contrary to the process of religion. Celestial musicians and their wives sang in chorus about the pure reputation of the emperor, and early in the morning every day he used to listen to the pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead with a loving heart.
Nishnatam yogamayeshu munim swayambhuvam manu yat abhradayasyatam bhoga naseku bhagavat param.
Thus Swayambhuva Manu was a saintly king. Although absorbed in material happiness, he was not dragged to the lowest grade of life, for he always enjoyed his material happiness in a Krishna-conscious atmosphere.
Ayata yamastasya san yamasvantarayapanaha shvanvato dhyayato vishnu purvato bhruvata kathaha.
Consequently, although his duration of life gradually came to an end, his long life, consisting of a Manvantara era, was not spent in vain, since he ever engaged in hearing, contemplating, writing down, and chanting the pastimes of the Lord.
Sa evam svantaram ninye yuganam ekasamtatim vasudeva prasangena paribuddha gatitrayaha.
He passed his time, which lasted 71 cycles of the 4 ages, 71 times 4,320,000 years, always thinking of Vasudeva and always engaged in matters regarding Vasudeva. Thus he transcended the 3 destinations.
शरीरा मनसा दिव्या वैयासेये च मानसः भूतिकाश्च कथं क्लेशः बन्धते हरि संश्रयम्.
Therefore, O Vidura, how can persons completely under the shelter of Lord Krishna in devotional service be put into miseries pertaining to the body, the mind, nature, and other men and living creatures?
या प्रस्तो मुनिभिप्राः धर्मन्नानाविधुञ्चभाम् नन्दं वर्णश्रमानं च सर्वभूतहिता सदा.
In reply to questions asked by certain sages, he, Swayambhuva Manu, out of compassion for all living entities, taught the diverse sacred duties of men in general and the different varnas and ashramas.
एतत् अधिराजस्य मनोश्चरिणम् अद्भुतम् वाणिज्यं वर्णनिष्यस्य तद् अपद्योदयं शृणु.
I have spoken to you of the wonderful character of Swayambhuva Manu, the original king, whose reputation is worthy of description. Please hear as I speak of the flourishing of his daughter Devahuti. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Panita Mataji, Jai Mataji, for the recitation. Very nice. So yeah, Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome to the next Bhagavatam session. So today we'll be looking at Canto 3, Chapter 22, text 36 to 39. So basically the last few verses of this chapter, as we just heard in the recitation. Okay. Just do the Mangala Charan. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So I'll just share my screen. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So as I said, we got four verses today. The first two have purports, and then the last two do not. So text 36. Saevam swantaram ninye yuganam ekasaptatim vasudeva prasangena paribhuta gatitrayaha. So he passed his time, which lasted 71 cycles of the 4 ages, 71 times 4.32 million years, always thinking of Vasudev and always engaged in matters regarding Vasudev. Thus he transcended the 3 destinations. So purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The 3 destinations are meant for persons who are under the control of the 3 modes of material nature. These destinations are sometimes described as the awakened, dreaming, and unconscious stages. In Bhagavad Gita, the 3 destinations are described as the destinations of persons in the modes of goodness, passion, and ignorance. It is stated in the Gita that those who are in the mode of goodness are promoted to better living conditions in higher planets, and those who are in the mode of passion remain within this material world on the earth or on heavenly planets. But those who are in the mode of ignorance are degraded to an animal life on planets where life is lower than human. But one who is Krishna conscious is above these 3 modes of material nature. It is stated in Bhagavad Gita that anyone who engages in devotional service to the Lord automatically becomes transcendental to the 3 destinations of material nature and is situated in the Brahma Bhuta or self-realized stage. Although Swayambhuva Manu, the ruler of this material world, appeared to be absorbed in material happiness, he was neither in the mode of goodness nor in the modes of passion or ignorance, but in the transcendental stage. Therefore, one who fully engages in devotional service is always liberated. Bilva Mangal Thakur, a great devotee of the Lord, stated, "If I have unflinching devotion to the lotus feet of Krishna, then Mother Liberation is always engaged in my service." The complete perfection of material enjoyment, religion, and economic development is at my command. People are after dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. Generally, they perform religious activities to achieve some material gain, and they engage in material activity for sense gratification. After being frustrated in material sense gratification, one wants to be liberated and become one with the absolute truth. These 4 principles form the transcendental path for the less intelligent. Those who are actually intelligent engage in Krishna consciousness, not caring for these 4 principles of the transcendental method. They at once elevate themselves to the transcendental platform, which is above liberation. Liberation is not a very great achievement for a devotee, to say nothing of the results of ritualistic performances in religion, economic development, or the materialistic life of sense gratification. Devotees do not care for these. They are situated always on the transcendental platform of the Brahma-bhuta stage of self-realization. So we'll just discuss a little bit about each verse as we come to it. So yeah, we'll discuss a bit about text 36. So here we're hearing, about the very, very long lifetime of Swayambhuva Manu. And we're hearing it described in terms of the cycles of the 4 ages. So as we know, we have the 4 ages: Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapar Yuga, and Kali Yuga. And all 4 of these ages together are called a Divya Yuga or a Maha Yuga, and it lasts 4,320,000 years. So, and we know we're in Kali Yuga right now, and Kali Yuga lasts 432,000 years, of which we've had about 5,000. So just to explain this 4.32 million, so we have Satya Yuga is 4 times the length of Kali Yuga. So Satya Yuga is 1,728,000 years. Then we have Treta Yuga, which is 3 times the length of Kali Yuga, and it's 1,296,000 years. Then Dwapar Yuga is double the length of Kali Yuga, 864,000, and then obviously Kali Yuga 432,000. So all 4 together is 4.32 million. And we're hearing that 71 times that 4.32 million was a lifetime of Swayambhuva Manu. We know also that 1 day of Brahma is 1,000 of these 4.32 million years. So, compared to Lord Brahma, this is not much. It seems a very, very huge amount. But if we compare it to Lord Brahma, for example, it's not actually that much. But anyway, this is the lifetime of a Manu, Manvantara. So yeah, very, very long time. And we're also hearing that he has transcended the 3 destinations. And Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport that this is talking about the same explanation which is given in the Bhagavad Gita. So if we look at that again, that those who are in the mode of goodness, they're promoted to higher planets. Those in passion are likely to remain here within this earthly realm, and those who are in the mode of ignorance are degraded to animal life on planets where life is lower than human. So yeah, so different destinations based on the mode. And so here we're hearing that Swayambhuva Manu is not under the influence of the 3 modes of material nature. And also we hear, or we have heard already as well, that he's a fully Krishna conscious devotee. And here as well, Prabhupada says in the purport, one who's Krishna conscious is above these 3 modes of material nature. So he's fully Krishna conscious, fully absorbed in the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and is engaged in devotional service. And this is actually the best way for us to, or the easiest way for us to transcend the 3 modes. we don't have to, okay, I'm in this mode, I have to go to this mode, I have to go to that mode, I have to go to the next mode. We can have that sort of gradual progression, but just by engaging in devotional service, we can be beyond these three modes. But obviously, he says here one who fully engages in devotional service. So that's why it's generally a gradual process, because we can't suddenly, um, for example, go from mode of ignorance to fully engaging in devotional service. So it's generally for all of us, well, most of us, a gradual process. And it's explained that we want to try and come to the mode of goodness before we're even talking about transcending the modes, because as we all know, being in the mode of goodness, this is the best platform from which we can then engage in devotional service, um, compared to the other modes. So Swayambhuva Manu, he's living here in the material world, and he is in, he's ruling the world. So he's in the most, in one sense, you could say the most worldly position, because he's the king, he's ruling the world, he's the emperor. So he's very much involved with the material world, but at the same time, he is transcendental to it. And we know this. A more closer example for us would be Srila Prabhupada. He was here in the material world doing so many things, leading an international society, guiding so many disciples, instructing through letters and personal meetings and various ways, translating books, so many things he was doing. He was, keeping a close eye on the financial side of, ISKCON, and so many things he was involved with. But constantly, he was absorbed in Krishna, so he was always transcendental to material nature. He was never affected by it. Then we have this, Srila Prabhupada gives this wonderful statement from Bilva Mangal Thakur. And, we may have heard this, before, that when we are constantly engaged in devotional service to Krishna, then, Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, they appear before the devotee like maidservants offering their service to the devotee. So here we see also the supreme position of bhakti, of devotional service, in comparison to Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, which generally, everyone in this world is chasing after. The vast majority of people in this world, that's what they're chasing after. And even when they're performing, like it says here, they perform religious activities to achieve material gain. So those activities are, they may be worshipping, a demigod. They may even be worshipping the Supreme Lord, but their motive is not to achieve love for the Supreme Lord, or devotion. It's not really, they don't actually have a desire to serve. They just want to get something out of it. And then obviously once they get it, then they'll stop those religious activities, at least until they have another, they desire something new, something further, which is still material. Then again, they will do those religious activities, and like that, they will carry on. Then he's saying here, eventually, because obviously they're never going to be satisfied, and eventually, Prabhupada is saying, they become frustrated in material sense gratification. And then they desire that liberation, but in the sense of becoming one. So they're like, okay, I've tried this, just forget the whole thing now. And even forget my independence, just merge with absolute truth, and that's it. That's the end of it. And because losing our independence and all of that, and just being part of this, they may not know what it is that they're trying to merge with, a light or energy. They may not actually know about the Brahmajyoti. They might, because there's so many nowadays. There's so many different spiritual groups and paths and different things which may not be bona fide, and just becoming God, becoming one with this light, this energy, this that. It's all very wishy-washy, as they say. But obviously, then there are those who actually know about the impersonal form of the Lord and the Brahmajyoti. They know about it, but that is what they desire. They just want to go to that platform. They have no desire to go beyond that, and they certainly have no desire to have an actual relationship with Krishna, with God. Because like I said, or like Prabhupada is saying, sorry, that, they become frustrated in material sense gratification. So what is the main way, that we get sense gratification? Ultimately, it's out of, most of the time, other people, relationships with other people, ultimately love, or what we think is love, what isn't actually love, but that's what we think it is. And the whole world is going round according to this principle of lust, but they just always describe it as love. Love makes the world go round. But actually, in the material world, it's generally lust makes the world go round. But actually, in the spiritual world, it's that love makes the world go round. Okay, so basically, then Prabhupada is saying these things, dharma, artha, kama, moksha, they're not a very great achievement. And also, obviously, they're all temporary. Because, even if, as we all know, even if you merge with the Brahmajyoti, you'll still eventually fall back down. So, yeah, why waste all that time trying to go there when eventually you still have to come back? So ultimately, that thing is missing. Something is missing. That relationship with the Supreme Lord is missing. That love is missing. That ananda, that bliss, which we can only get from that relationship, is missing. And therefore, it will always be eventually, frustrating and unsatisfying, because the nature of the soul is to have a loving relationship with Krishna, with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is just our nature. So therefore, any place we are, any position we are, where we don't have that, we may be able to stay there for some time, but it will never satisfy us, because we're not fulfilling our very nature, as a soul. Okay, so Right. Oh yeah, so another thing I was going to say, obviously we're talking about, very, very long lifetime, but ultimately we can see here it's been a measurement is given, so therefore it's temporary. So even though he's living such a huge lifetime, he still has to leave his body at the end of it. Obviously, we've just heard his destination will be different. He's a fully Krishna conscious devotee, so he's going back to Godhead. But just in general, regardless of how long our lifetime is in the material world, we still have to leave our body at the end of it. So, this is another thing which is unsatisfying for the soul, that we have to die, or we have to leave the body. The body has to die, and we have to then take on a new body. This is also unsatisfying. This is also unnatural. This is also not fulfilling the nature of the soul, because obviously we know the nature of the soul is to be eternal. So therefore we always have, in society, we have this desire. People want to live as long as possible. Ultimately, they want to live forever. There's this sort of search, especially in science, to prolong life and, try and achieve immortality. Everyone is ultimately looking for immortality in some way or another, because again, this is the nature of the soul. So all these kind of as materially conditioned souls in the material world, all these kind of primal desires that we have, they're all ultimately rooted in the nature of the soul. It's just, they've been perverted. Obviously, we know that nothing comes from nowhere. This material world is perverted reflection of the spiritual world. So whatever is there in the spiritual world ends up here in the material world in a perverted, a twisted way, just like in the description in the Bhagavad Gita of the reflection of the banyan tree in the water. So yeah, so that desire that, oh, we want to live forever, and we don't want to die, that is coming from because deep down, as the soul, we know that we are not meant for, this birth, death, old age, disease. We know we're not meant for that. Subconsciously, it's there, but because it's been covered, it manifests in a different way. That, oh, I want to, in this lifetime, I'll prolong this lifetime. Sorry, I want to prolong this lifetime. Take this medicine, take this diet, do this exercise, do all of these things to prolong this lifetime. And we can, obviously there are ways to prolong the lifetime. Those who are mystic yogis, especially, they know how to prolong their lifetime by a vast amount. We hear about there are, advanced yogis who know how to slow the actions of their body, slow their breathing to such an extent that their life becomes prolonged, and some can practically stop their breathing, and in that way prolong their lifetime by a huge amount. But obviously still, even then, again, they're here in the material world, and eventually they will have to leave their body. But so there are these ways where life can be prolonged. It's understood in the Vedas from these mystic powers. And then in science, or at least for now in science fiction stories, they talk about things like cryogenic technology, putting the body in suspended animation. For all intents and purposes, the idea of freezing a body that can then, last for a long, long time, and then unfreeze it again after a long time has passed. So there are things like that. So even in stories and things like that, and kind of speculation, there's all these things about how to prolong life. But we can't prolong it forever. So again, why waste all that time trying to do that when there's a better, easier way to transcend all of this, and then you don't need to worry about having to leave the body and then enter a new body and go through the whole thing again. Okay, so I'm just conscious of time, so I think it's best if we move to the next verse. Sharira manasa divya vayase ye cha manushaha bhautikascha katam klesha badhante hari samshrayam. Therefore, O Vidura, how can persons completely under the shelter of Lord Krishna in devotional service be put into miseries pertaining to the body, the mind, nature, and other men and living creatures? So here we're hearing about klesha, the miseries. And as we know, there are three categories of this. So we have the adhyatmic. So adhyatmic, so atma means self. So those miseries can caused by the self, and in this sense, when we're talking about self, we're talking about the body and the mind. So then we have adibhotic, which is caused by other living entities, and then adidevic, so nature, natural disasters, and things like that. So every materially conditioned soul is experiencing these miseries. Actually, you could say they are happening. They are happening to everyone, but the devotee is not affected by them. Even if they do happen to be put into that situation. So they're going through those so-called miseries, but to them, they're not. It doesn't feel like a misery to them. So we'll see here in the purport, Srila Prabhupada says, every living entity within this material world is always afflicted by some kind of miseries pertaining either to the body, the mind, or natural disturbances. Distresses due to cold in winter and severe heat in summer always inflict miseries on the living entities in this material world. But one who has completely taken shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord in Krishna consciousness is in the transcendental stage. He is not disturbed by any miseries, either due to the body, the mind, or natural disturbances of summer and winter. He is transcendental to all these miseries. So again, it doesn't say that he never receives or goes through any of these miseries, but that he is not disturbed by any miseries. So just again, if we give the example of Srila Prabhupada, going through miseries of the body, or so-called miseries of the body, even before, during the journey, the heart attacks, and then, later on, other health issues, and also other kind of, miseries from other living entities. So many things happen, manuscripts stolen, different things stolen, also like look at the places, the kind of awful places that for a time Srila Prabhupada had to stay in New York when he first arrived, where sometimes he had to step over people just lying on the floor in his path, walk past so many people who are completely lost their mind due to drugs, going to the dangerous part of New York, and so many other things, we can see. But he was never disturbed by these things, And again, this also shows that someone who is fully Krishna conscious, someone who is on such a platform, they have actually realized that I'm not the body, I'm the soul. Because for most of us, or at least, speaking for myself, having accepted it theoretically, but not actually realized it, I'm not like all of the time understanding, okay, I'm the soul, I'm not the body, and then always 24/7 living my life in that way. Definitely I'm not on that stage. But such a devotee, for example, like Srila Prabhupada, you know, they are, they are on that stage. So, yeah, so then it is clear, okay, they're not the body, because those things are happening, these things, okay, they're happening to my body or they're happening to my mind, but that's fine, I'm not the body or the mind, I'm the soul. They fully realize that. So therefore, it's almost like, because Krishna says in the Gita that it's just like the soul in the body is just like as if seated on a machine. So essentially like an observer sitting within the body, but not actually the body. So it's like that, the miseries might be happening to that devotee's body, but, they're almost like an observer, seeing, okay, this is happening to my body, but I'm not the body. But still, they also may actually experience some pain, um, because although they're transcendental to the miseries of the body, but still they're in a body. So then, by Krishna's arrangement, they still might actually be experiencing some pain, but again, they're not disturbed by that pain. So even we see, sometimes even great devotees, they go through uh, such difficult circumstances, just prior to their leaving this world. They may, suffer some disease, cancer. We have seen that, in our devotee community. Great devotees, somehow they're experiencing all these things that someone who has not as much understanding, looking on the outside, might think, why is those things still happening? They've become a devotee. They've devoted their life to Krishna. So why is that still happening to them? But obviously then we understand, there may be more than one reason, And the exact specifics in that devotee's case, obviously, only Krishna knows. We don't know, but we can kind of understand to some extent. And obviously, we hear like one of the main reasons is that Krishna wants the glory of his devotee to be known, to see that this devotee, even though they're going through such difficulty, they never give up the shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna, and therefore we understand that they're such a great devotee. And again, going back to Srila Prabhupada, all those difficulties add to that understanding that this is no ordinary person, and not even an ordinary devotee, but this is someone truly special. Other devotees have made this point in their classes many times as well, that imagine if it was very easy and Srila Prabhupada faced no difficulties whatsoever, we wouldn't really understand Srila Prabhupada's glory as much. It's only because he went through all of those things but was undisturbed by them that we actually can see his glory. Because otherwise, the devotee doesn't advertise their glory. It's only Krishna who wants to advertise his devotees' glory to the world. So many other examples. We have Mother Kunti and the Pandavas. We have Draupadi, obviously. We have so many examples like this that if not for those difficult situations, the glory, obviously we know the glory to some extent, but the true extent will be unknown to us. Because, as I said, out of humility, it's not like they're going to advertise it. But then Krishna makes some arrangement. And then as a result, we're still talking about those great devotees, the greatness of those devotees. And the same will be for Srila Prabhupada. Obviously, it's not been that long since Srila Prabhupada's time, but still, in the future, after much time has passed, I'm sure still Srila Prabhupada's glory will be known. So we can kind of summarize this in that phrase we always talk about of being in this world but not of this world. Okay, so text 38. Yaprishto munibi praha dharman nana vidan chuban nrinam varna shramanam cha sarvabhuta hita sada. In reply to questions asked by certain sages, he, Swayambhuva Manu, out of compassion for all living entities, taught the diverse sacred duties of men in general and the different varnas in ashrams. So here is said that he's teaching the diverse duties of the people in general and about the varnas and ashrams out of compassion for all living entities. So, this is something we discussed before, that out of compassion, in the Vedas, a path has been given for all living entities, regardless of which position they are, where they are on their spiritual journey, which varna they are in, which ashram they are in, and as a result, what kind of duties they have. Regardless of any of that, there's a path for them, there's a way for them in the Vedas, so that no one is completely left out and has no hope whatsoever, because not everyone is going to be on the the highest platform, as we know. And then obviously Krishna explains, Krishna knowing this, it says in the Bhagavad Gita, if you can't do this, then do this. But if you can't even do that, then just do this, and so on and so forth. And obviously also, like, he describes different paths, three main paths: karma yoga, jnana yoga, bhakti yoga. Obviously the conclusion is that bhakti yoga is the best, but not everyone is able to practice that, or not on that level yet. So here, okay, fine, you can follow this path, jnana yoga, or you can follow this path, karma yoga. So again, he's teaching these different ways. Obviously, Arjuna is transcendental to these, but for the people in general, out of compassion, Krishna is teaching these different paths. And similarly, because Manu is the emperor of the world, so therefore it's his duty to show them all the right way, the right path. So that's what he's doing. And then text 39. Etatta adirajasya manoshcharitam adbhutam varnitam varnaniyasya tadapatyodayam shrinu. So the final verse of this chapter: that I have spoken to you of the wonderful character of Swayambhuva Manu, the original king, whose reputation is worthy of description. Please hear as I speak of the flourishing of his daughter, Devahuti. So, so as we have heard, about, amazing character that Swayambhuva Manu has. And he's clearly said his reputation is worthy of description. So obviously that's why we've heard all this description about him. And also another way, obviously, this is just about the marriage of Kardama Muni and Devahuti. But obviously we know as a result of that marriage, Kapila Dev appears in this family. So again, this is also another way we can understand how great is Swayambhuva Manu, that within his family the Supreme Lord appeared in his incarnation of Kapila Dev. So he appears as Swayambhuva Manu's grandson, you could say. So this is another way we can understand, because the Lord obviously only appears in great families, like, for example, obviously appearing as Lord Ramachandra in such a great family, and then also obviously appearing in his original form, Krishna. Also, he doesn't appear in any ordinary family, So again, this is another way that we can understand the greatness of Swayambhuva Manu and obviously by extension his daughter as well, because obviously then the Lord is appearing, as her son. But yeah, we're coming up to the end, so I will stop here. I'll stop the sharing of the screen. Is there any last comments, any questions or corrections, anything anyone would like to add? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Nikhil Prabhu, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Thank you for a wonderful class, Prabhu. Prabhu, I just wanted to add a little more color to your earlier comments. I think some very important subject matters you've covered, including the three modes in the gunas.
Okay.
I think you mentioned that we as devotees should be aiming to get to the mode of goodness. Actually, we should be aiming to get to the mode of Vishuddha Sattva, which is beyond mode of goodness, because the three modes are actually still materially bound. And even in the mode of goodness, you can be in the mode of goodness, but be an atheist. You can be doing charitable things, building hospitals, doing things. So you are still trapped within the material world and within the karmic propensities that, sort of good, bad, etc., will still be accumulating. Even in the mode of goodness, you still have to burn karma that's accumulated for goodness. So we as devotees should be actually getting beyond that. And it's not as simple as that. I mean, Krishna devotes almost 2 chapters in the Bhagavad Gita, 17 and 18. He talks about different categories within the 3 modes as well, like faith, food, sacrifice, austerities, charity, knowledge, action, workers, intelligence, determination, happiness. And all of these categories have 3 modes attached to them. So it's not as simple as us being in the mode of goodness, passion, or ignorance. Actually, you could be mixed. You could be in the mode of goodness at one moment, a mode of passion another, mode of ignorance another. So these modes are accumulatively acting upon one. It's not a straightforward question of one person is in the mode of goodness. They can be in the mode of goodness for one particular category, and a mode of ignorance or another, mode of passion. And those modes actually fluctuate through not only time, but also space, as it were, as well, in terms of what you do and how you. So it's quite a complex subject matter. And thank you for bringing that up. But it's one that we should really try and understand properly. That's why Krishna goes into quite a lot of detail. Almost 2 chapters here in the Bhagavad Gita are dedicated to understanding the gunas. Thank you for bringing that up. And I just added a little bit more color to your wonderful class, Prabhu. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Always appreciate your contributions. Anybody else wants to say anything before we finish?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you for that
Hare
class.
Krishna.
I just wanted to follow on from that question. Is it that these modes of passion, ignorance, goodness, that kind of, are they overlapping because of the yuga we are in? Because the influences are different? In the Satyuga Swayambhava Manu's time, for example, things would have been different. His approach would have been different. We are so conditioned materially that we are, continuously trying to cut across one or the other. They're continuously overlapping. Is it because of the yuga?
Yeah, I mean, obviously in Kali Yuga, there's going to be more influence of the modes of passion and ignorance, the lower modes, compared to previous ages. But even in previous ages, I don't think we can say there was no mode of ignorance or passion at all. Obviously we're hearing about, but in the Bhagavatam, about various demonic personalities in all these different ages, who would be obviously influenced by these lower modes. So it's not that it wasn't present in previous ages, but yeah, I would definitely say it's more prevalent in Kali Yuga. But yeah, as Prabhu was saying, generally we very rarely being 100% in one mode, will be under a combination of these. But yeah, does anyone have any more they can add to this question? Okay, I don't know if that was helpful or.
No, it was. I mean, you were right to point out that there was not entirely goodness in the other yugas as well. And yeah, absolutely, that there were kind of demonic personalities. Then, yeah, I get the point. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Okay, Hare Krishna. Okay, so I think we should end here. So let's all offer our obeisances to the assembled devotees. Vancha kalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyeva patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo
Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai.
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai.
Srimad Bhagavatam ki
Jai.
All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Thank you, Prabhuji,
Krishna.
for a nice class. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Everyone, thank you, Prabhuji, for the nice class. Hare Krishna, everyone.